I must begin by stating a crucial truth. There is no scientific, psychological, or moral evidence to support the idea that physical appearance correlates with moral character. The premise that people who are considered ugly are inherently more evil is a harmful stereotype known as Lookism, rooted in the debunked pseudoscience of physiognomy. To argue otherwise would be to propagate discrimination and misinformation. However, the belief that this connection exists is a fascinating and dangerous aspect of human psychology. It reveals more about the observer than the observed. Therefore, rather than validating a harmful myth, I will offer a compelling exploration of why we as a society clings to this illusion. First, let's define terms so we're not shadowboxing. Ugly is subjective to the point of absurdity. One culture's ideal of beauty, pale skin in Renaissance Europe, is another's plainness, facial symmetry, clear skin, height. These are evolutionary signals of health and fertility, not moral batteries. Evil, on the other hand, is deliberate harm, manipulation, cruelty, indifference to suffering. There is zero reliable evidence that the first predicts the second. In fact, the data points the opposite way. Longitudinal studies tracking thousands of young people into adulthood show that more physically attractive individuals are actually less likely to be arrested or convicted of crimes by margins of 11–18% in some models, after controlling for other factors. Why? Not because beauty makes you good, but because attractive people often receive better social treatment from day one, more opportunities, more second chances, higher self-esteem that channels into pro-social paths. The ugly label, meanwhile, can create a horn effect, the reverse of the famous halo effect, where people assume the worst, treat someone worse, and occasionally push a vulnerable person toward resentment. But even then, most unattractive people do not become evil. They become teachers, mechanics, parents, friends. The causal arrow runs from society's bias to outcomes, not from face to soul. Psychologists have measured this bias for decades. The beauty is good stereotype, coined in the 1970s, leads people to attribute more kindness, honesty, and moral integrity to attractive faces. Flip it, and unattractive faces get tagged with impurity, coldness, or criminality. Jurors give unattractive defendants sentences averaging 22 months longer. Mock juries rate the same crime as more serious when the perpetrator photo is less symmetrical. This isn't reality, it's optical illusion projected onto morality. Real criminality correlates far more strongly with poverty, childhood trauma, low impulse control, and certain genetic predispositions for psychopathy, none of which carve themselves into cheekbones. Now, let me paint the image that actually explains why this myth feels so sticky. Imagine the human mind as an old, cracked mirror in a dimly lit attic. When we look at someone, we don't see their true reflection. We see our own expectations bouncing back distorted. For thousands of years, folklore and religion told us physical deformity was divine, punishment, leprosy as sin made visible, the hunchback as cursed. Storytellers amplified it because it's cheap drama. The Wicked Witch is green and warty, so children instantly know she's bad. The prince is chiseled, so we root for him. Disney didn't invent this. They inherited it from Grimm, who inherited it from medieval morality plays. But step outside the attic mirror and into sunlight. History's rogues gallery laughs at the trope. Ted Bundy, tall, charismatic, boyishly handsome, lured victims with that very attractiveness. His looks were a weapon. Jeffrey Dahmer was plain, almost forgettable. Stalin had a pockmarked face and a withered arm, yet his evil was industrial scale. Meanwhile, unsung heroes like the heavily scarred Vietnam veteran who became a tireless advocate for disabled children or the overweight, acne-scarred teacher who quietly paid students' lunch debts for decades, ordinary, ugly people performing extraordinary good. The mirror cracks further when you realize moral behavior can increase perceived attractiveness. Show people a photo paired with a story of selfless charity, and ratings of beauty rise. Pair it with cruelty, and beauty drops even for the same face. Goodness literally makes faces glow in our minds. People who feel unattractive sometimes internalize the trope and grow bitter. If the world thinks I'm monstrous, why not act it? But the vast majority don't. They build armor, humor, empathy forged in the fire of being overlooked. The truly dangerous ones, the quiet, calculating evil, often hide behind charm and symmetry precisely because society hands them a free pass. The subway scowler might be heading home to care for an elderly parent. The smiling beauty might be texting instructions to her offshore money laundering crew. Actions, not angles, reveal the monster. Why does the myth persist so stubbornly? Evolutionary psychology offers part of the answer. Our brains evolved quick heuristics in dangerous ancestral environments. A symmetrical face suggested healthy mate, healthy offspring. We over-applied that shortcut to morality because detecting cheaters and predators was life or death. Culture then supercharged it. Books, films, news cycles cherry-pick the scarred criminal while the slick CEO embezzler gets a TED Talk. Confirmation bias does the rest. One creepy guy with bad teeth sticks in memory. The thousand kind ones with crooked smiles fade. Add social media filters that make everyone beautiful, and suddenly ordinary faces look suspicious by comparison. The cycle spins.